Okay, for this Christmas tree skirt, I used Red Heart Soft, which is a 4-weight yarn. I feel like it's just a little bit thicker than some of the 4-weight yarns. It's a little easier for me to work with. And I use the colors Leaf. They have a lighter color. This is Dark Leaf. They have a lighter color just called Leaf if you don't want to go quite so dark. White. And I am going to use the Really Red for this one because I'm making it for a friend and she requested it. For the pattern that I wrote up, I used the color Wine. It's just a little bit darker, not a whole lot. It's darker in person. Each skein has 256 yards, and I used a 5.5mm crochet hook. You could use a 5mm or a 6mm, it would work. Okay, let's get started. I chained 50. This can be your first row. And in order to make our first double crochet, we're actually going to come in 1, 2, 3 into that first chain. You can either just go into the chain or turn it over and go into the back bump right there. I'm going to do that. So the pattern for this first row, and what helps make it a circle, are the increases. It's going to be 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochet in the next stitch. This is going to count as our first double crochet where we skipped 3, where we went into the third, and now we want to go, well, this is not showing up very well, I'm sorry, into that very same stitch with another double crochet, which I guess you could just call that a V-stitch. We're going to call it an increase. So our pattern across is going to be 1 double crochet, and the second stitch gets 2 double crochets in the same stitch. So 1 double crochet, and the next stitch gets 2. There will be alternating increase rows. This is an increase row where you have regular double crochet. And then there will be a front post, back post row, and you don't increase on that row. So if you get confused, look and you see your V. Oh, I did 2 there. So the next stitch gets 1 double crochet, and then the following stitch gets 2 double crochet. One and 2 gets 2. Let's do that one more time. 1, 2 gets 2. Every other stitch gets 2 double crochet. Again, if you get lost, you forget what you're doing, you get distracted, go back. There's my 2 together, so I know that was just 1, and now I know I also need 2 together in my next stitch, or my next chain. Okay, continue around. You should end up with 2 double crochet in the last stitch. Every row will end up with 2 double crochet in the last stitch, or every increase row will. All right, I'll meet you at the end of this row. At the end of the row, last 2 stitches, or 2 chains, as you can see. This is actually the hardest row. Everything gets easier after this, so don't give up. There's my back bump. As you can see, I did 2 together in the previous chain. So 1, and I'm going to end up on my very last chain. I will have 2 double crochet in the same stitch. Every time you increase a row, and the increase row is always this row with all the regular double crochets. not the front post, back post. Every time you increase, you will increase by 24 stitches. We started with a chain of 50, and now you should have 74 stitches. I believe in the written pattern I gave you the stitch count for each row up or through row 12. You really don't need to keep up with that because the rows get really, really long. You definitely need to keep up with your stitch count as far as how many stitches between your increases, and I'll explain that in a minute. But look how it makes a circle. I think that's so cool, and that's what I wanted. I also wanted a little bit of texture, and that's why I included the front post, back post stitches. All right, now you're going to turn for row 2. Every row is going to start with a stacked single crochet, no chain. Go in that very, very first stitch there. And we're just going to make a single crochet. It's going to act like a double crochet, but it's not going to leave any gaps, which I like. Hang on, I'm looking at the camera again. Let's start over. Find your very first stitch. Go in there and bring it through, and bring your yarn through the 2 loops, and that's a single crochet. Now find your left loop. Go into that left loop. Bring your yarn through. You have 2 loops. Bring your yarn through, and that's another single crochet. It's one on top of another, and that's why it's called a stacked single crochet. It's also called a chainless double crochet. Now, all your even rows, this is row 2, are going to start, they will always start with a stacked single crochet. Every row does. And now we're going to go straight into a front post double crochet. See that double crochet from below? Bring your hook behind it, push it to the front, and that's why they call it a front post double crochet. Now the next one, make sure you're pulling these apart so that you really see it. Otherwise you can either skip one or put 2 in the same stitch very easily. So that was a front post. We're going to alternate. Back post means you go in front of it, go into that space next to it, push it to the back, pull your yarn through, yarn over. You have 2 loops, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through those last 2 for your back post double crochet. So front post, back post, front post, and this is what's going to give you that really nice texture. It was just the easiest pattern I could come up with that was still pretty unique. There's our back post. It's still very tailored looking. The texture is lovely. Okay, so we had our stacked single crochet, front post double crochet, back post double crochet, front post double crochet, back post, and so now it's front post. Remember to pull them apart. It can get tricky when you're doing the front post and back post on your increased stitches where you had 2 together, so really pull those apart. Okay, so my last one was a front post. Every now and then go back and check your pattern, make sure that you're on track with your front post, back post. Make sure you didn't do 2 of either in a row. It should always alternate. Front post, back post. Always starts with front post, and every row ends with back post, and then double crochet into the very last stitch. So go all the way around. This row will also be 74 stitches. I'll meet you at the very end of the row. I'm at the end of row 2. This is my last post stitch. When you get to that post stitch, the stitch before it should have been a front post stitch because this should be a back post. Kind of go every now and then, kind of pull it apart and make sure that you continued to alternate front post and back post. So I did indeed do a front post. My very last post stitch will be a back post. It will be in every front post, back post row. And now in the very last stitch, not this one, come on over here, just a regular double crochet. Oop, go through 2 loops. And that's what's going to keep it nice and straight on the edge. All right, for row 3, and remember every odd row is an increase row. It's pretty easy to remember anyway because they alternate. Increase row, post row, increase row. So just turn, no chain. Again, every single row begins with a stacked single crochet. Single crochet, go into that left loop, pull through. You're making another single crochet on top of it. All right, now the very first row we had 1 double crochet and the next stitch had 2 double crochet. Now we're going to have 2 double crochet and the very next stitch will get 2 double crochet. It's going to increase this number of stitches in between the increases will increase by 1 every single time. And if you get confused, you can come back down a row and say, oh, how many stitches did I have in between? Let's see. That's an increase and I had 1 stitch. That's an increase and I had 1 stitch. Oh, okay. So now I know that I need to have 2 stitches and then an increase. So 1, 2, and 3 gets 2. And that is how I talked myself through this whole pattern. Whatever increase I was on. 1, 2, and 3 gets 2. And they're all double crochet. And this row will indeed increase by 24 stitches. Every single row will increase by another, or every single increase row by another 24 inches. Okay, so continue on. 1, 2, and 3 gets 2. Double crochet. 1, 2, and 3 gets 2. I will meet you at the end where we should be putting 2 double crochet in the very last stitch. Okay, if you're at the end of your row, your last 3 stitches should be 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and that was 1, 2 single, and 2 double crochet together in the very last stitch. You're going to have to come behind here a little bit, get the second part of your stitch. So 1, 2, all the way across. I said 1, 2, 3 gets 2. Okay, and we're going to turn, no chain, every single row gets a stacked single crochet at the beginning, and we're still in a circle. It's going to stay in a circle all the way around. I chose not to put buttons on mine, but it would be so easy. If you wanted to put buttons, you have some nice big spaces to work with. You don't even need to make buttonholes. Okay, so this is an even row, row number 4, stacked single crochet again. Go into the left loop of that single crochet, pull through, and pull through. And there's your stacked single crochet. And we always start our post rows with a front post right there. Not here, right there. front post double crochet, back post double crochet. And continue that all the way around. I'll be back in just a minute. I'm at the end of row 4. My post row. I have one more post left, and it will be a back post. It will always be a back post. Double crochet. Bring that on through. Now remember, your last stitch is going to be a double crochet. Make sure you don't go into here, because it would leave a little jagged edge there. It wouldn't be straight. So come in here, your last stitch. Oops. Let's look at that. You want to find that V. There we go. Just make sure you're going through both loops. And a regular old double crochet. And see how nice and straight that is? Turn. No chain. Every row starts with stacked single crochet. Very repetitive. Single crochet, single crochet. All right. Now, because every third stitch had 2 double crochet, that was your increase in the last increase row. And again, if you get confused, 1, 2, and the third stitch got 2. 1, 2, and the third stitch got 2. So now we know we need to increase that. 1, 2, 3, and the fourth stitch gets 2 double crochet. So 1, that counts as 1. 1, 2, 3, and 4 gets 2. And that's how I say it all the way across. However you want to count it out, you can. That just helped me a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4 gets 2 double crochet. And that's your increase. It's going to increase this row by 24 stitches. If you get confused, like, oh, where was I? I don't remember. 1, 2, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 2. Because 4 gets 2. Let's do one more. 1, 2, oopsies, 3, and 4. Make sure you're going under 2 loops there. 4 gets 2 double crochet. And that's maintaining your circle. Okay. For my pattern, you can make your stripes as wide or thin as you want to. The only thing that matters is that you keep your increase row with 1 extra stitch in between the increases every time you have another increase row. And then obviously the front post, back post row in between the increase rows. You could do this all in one color. However you want to do it. Multiple colors would be pretty as well. This is just how I did it. I made 10 rows of green, 2 rows of white, 10 rows of red, 10 rows of green, 2 rows of white. Let's see. I don't know if I said that right. 10 rows of each of the green and red with 2 rows of white in between. I ended up with 2 blocks of the green, 2 blocks of the red, white in between each, and then I ended with 2 rows of white and it ended up at 49 inches. I am going to show you how I change colors. Continue this pattern. I will meet you back when I am just finishing up row 10. Now remember, this was 3 stitches and the 4th stitch was the increase. So the next time you have an increase row, it'll be 4 stitches and the 5th stitch gets an increase. So 4 and then 5 gets 2. And then the next increase row after that will be 6. The 6th stitch gets the increase. And like I said, I did write it on the written pattern through row 12, I believe. After that, you will really know what you're doing by that time. So I'm going to meet you at the end of row 10 and show you how I change color. All right, I want to show you how I change color, and I'll show you in a minute how hard it is to take it out even when you want to. So this is the end of row 10. Leave myself a bit of a tail. All right. I'm going to pull that on through. You have your 2 loops here. You can use another crochet hook. I don't have one in front of me right now, but what I do is I bring this through my stitches, hold on to those loops. Like I said, normally I would use another crochet hook to do this 3 or 4 times down the row through 1 loop only. That's what helps lock it in. All right, I go back to my 2 loops here. That's why I like to use another crochet hook. Hold on to those. Okay, leave those there. You'll be able to cut this. You don't need to work over it. Now I'm picking up my second color, color B, white, a bit of a loop. I'm going to bring that on through. It's the same exact pattern, you just turn with no chain. Just hold on to both the working yarn and your tail. Make sure that you're in that very first stitch there, right there, and make your stacked single crochet. You're going to leave your tail out of that. We're going to get that tail back in a minute. We're going to really lock it in. So here's your stacked single crochet. This is an increase row. It's row 11. It's an odd row. And row 11 gets 7. You can either do this on the 2nd or the 3rd double crochet. Now take your tail and bring it through the last 2 loops. Pull that tail on through, and you don't have to do anything else with it. It's tight in there. I'm going to show you in a minute how tight it is and how hard it is to get it out. And we're just working over the tails that we wove in here. So we need, I believe, our 7th stitch now. Let's find row 11. Yes, in the 7th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still working over that tail. 6. Whenever you get to the end of that, just pull it down. You can weave that in further if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just cut it right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 gets 2. And this is going to be my increase row. And I'm going to make 2 rows of the white. So my next row will be a front post, back post row. But let me show you how hard it is to get this out. It's not going anywhere. So make sure that you do work that tail in either the second double crochet or the third. Just work it into the last 2 loops. Pull it on through, and it's not going anywhere. Okay? And that's how you change color. So continue on with this pattern, however you want to make your stripes. Continue to increase every increase row. Gets an additional stitch in between. The last one was every 6th stitch got an increase, and this one every 7th stitch gets an increase, and it just keeps going and going. And that's what's going to give you your lovely, lovely circle. And I'll show you some pictures of the finished product at the end. If you have any questions, folds right in half. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you could subscribe, that'd be great. That way you'll get all my free patterns. And also you can see all my free written patterns at www.i-crochet.com. All right, thanks for watching.